All right, hello, welcome to the webinar. I'm just going to give everyone a couple seconds here to populate in, and then we'll dive right into the content. All right, let's go ahead and get started. So first of all, welcome, good morning or good evening, wherever you are joining us from today. My name is Katie Gray. I'm a product marketing manager here at Sumo Logic, and I focus on our observability and operational analytics solution sets. Today, we're going to be talking about software development optimization, and I'll just go over the quick agenda of what we're going to cover today. First, I'll do a very, very brief introduction to Sumo Logic. For those of you who are not familiar with Sumo Logic or our solution as a whole, I'll just give a quick overview of what we cover, and then we'll get right into the meat for today, which is talking about software development optimization. We'll go over how the solution works, and then we'll spend a bunch of time in the live demo actually looking at the product itself. And we will have some time at the end for Q&A. As we're going through, if you do have questions, feel free to populate those in the Q&A or in the question box here in the webinar, and I will address those at the end, or if I have time as we're going through the demo. All right, so a little bit about Sumo Logic. Sumo Logic is a secure cloud-native machine data analytics company, and we help our customers manage the operation and security of their mission-critical applications. So this includes logs, metrics, traces, events, everything that's emitted by your apps and infrastructure. So we have built a massively scalable platform. We serve over 2,100 companies, and we process and analyze around 800 petabytes of data every single day. So no other service provides this level of scalability and elasticity. So what is the Sumo value? How are we different? We support cloud, hybrid, and on-prem apps and infrastructure. So as a cloud-based company, we really get cloud, so AWS, Azure, GCP, but we also can really easily monitor your virtual machines on-premise or in your data center. So companies like Alaska, Delta, Marriott, and Airbnb are good examples of these large on-premise and cloud-based applications. Our service is extremely elastic, so there's no scale limitations. In fact, we managed the CBS Interactive Online Super Bowl experience last year with around 300 million users. And our service scaled seamlessly to manage the data from that entire experience. And we provide, from a pricing and economics model, we price based on data ingest. And our licensing plan takes into account your average data volumes and the type of analytics that you want to run. Finally, we have some of the toughest security attestations and certifications today. So PCI, HIPAA. We also have been recently certified as FedRAMP ready. It's kind of a quick rundown. So what exactly does Sumo do? We can ingest data across your entire stack, again, from your apps or cloud systems, SaaS services, and on-premise infrastructure. And once that data is in Sumo, we collect and centralize that data. We monitor and visualize an alert based on this data. So for example, we can identify when an SLA is breached or when a security threat is identified. And then we can provide you with all of the troubleshooting tools that you need. So machine data driven analytics, all of this to really quickly get to the root cause. Okay, so let's dive into our solution for today. In talking about software delivery, the DevOps and research assessment is really a great place to start. So DORA research has shown that improving the industry standard for key metrics of software development and delivery is a key predictor for success for teams and organizations. They can show that the highest performing teams can deploy code around 208 times more frequently, get it to production 106 times faster, with 7 times less issues. And when issues do occur, they can fix them around 2,000 times faster. So pretty incredible stats. So why isn't every organization monitoring these DORA metrics today? Well, there's a huge challenge to doing that. This is really what our solution is aiming to make easier for our customers. It's a challenge because most organizations use a variety of tools, and teams use different tools. We have all of these different tools here on the left, and the data tends to be siloed. And furthermore, tools don't easily share data between each other. So it makes it really difficult to get that rolled up information from an organizational level, from a team or product, or even environment level. So our goal is really to combine all of this data and compute the metrics to tell you what's going on. So faster release velocity, improved reliability and security, and improved team collaboration. And so we do this using these 3 kind of steps: enriching, normalizing, and correlating the data. So enriching with metadata about the specific application or team. So this is really about tagging. Normalizing the data. So I talked about how teams use different tools, different pipelines. We have a need to normalize this into a common schema. And then finally, we correlate that data. So once it's normalized, you can do lots of interesting things like compute the DORA metrics we talked about, which require inputs from several of the tools. And then you can find out things like your release velocity. So another way to look at this is with respect to the DevOps lifecycle. So we can take all of the data from these tools across the lifecycle, so develop, build, test, deploy, all of these phases, and again, enrich, normalize, and correlate the data. So talking a little bit about enrichment here, what's happening in that step. Here we're adding that additional contextual data for each of these tools. So as the data comes in, we can attach info about the team or product or service or the environment that it's coming from. So then we can answer questions like, show me the check-ins related to the backend team, or show me everything related to the front-end service. Normalization, we normalize the data with what we call our field extraction rules. And so we take the data and map it again to the common schema I talked about. And once you do that, it unlocks the ability to do automated correlation. And again, then we can do things like take data from GitHub and Bitbucket, who are both sending us data about code merges, and then roll that up so you can provide that high level of visibility into what's happening. And then correlation, this is really the fun analytics piece. So here we can take data from all the tools and provide you with those high level stats on software delivery performance. Okay, so let's go over the kind of architecture of how this works. So here we have ingesting data across all of these applications on the bottom. And for everything in the box, this is automated. So these are applications where we have completely end-to-end experience for applications like Jira, Bitbucket, OpsGenie, GitHub, Jenkins, and PagerDuty. We pull data in via webhooks, and then the data from these tools is automatically normalized. So we've kind of done that work for you. And then the setup is from Terraform, which takes just a few minutes. And then once the data is normalized in Sumo Logic, we can provide the real-time insights into the software development and delivery in order to optimize your processes. For tools that aren't in the box, the solution is still completely extensible, so you can add support for any other tool. And we have a doc that walks you through this. For example, if you want to bring in Circle CI, you just turn on webhooks, you can send the data to Sumo and add your own field extraction rules. And then you don't have to do anything else. It's actually, the dashboards will automatically continue working and including the data from those additional tools that you've added and wanted to monitor. Okay, so let's go ahead and actually get into our live demo. Oops, been logged out here. So if you've never seen Sumo Logic, a great place to start is actually with the navigation here on the left. Once you get this installed, you'll have a new folder called Software Development Optimization. And within this folder, a couple key dashboards. One is the DORA metrics overview, and then we have the pipeline overview. There's two different primary views, and these are the highest level, most rolled up views into what's happening. And then for each of these, there's drill downs into each of those 4 key metrics. And then for pipeline monitoring, drill downs into each of those stages. So builds, deployments, issues, pipeline stage monitoring, and I'll go into each of these. So a good place to start here is this DORA metric overview. Here we can quickly understand how our application is doing, or how our organization and team is doing with relation to the industry standard benchmark set by DORA. So here we've actually added filters to color code here. Green means that you're in the high performing, and then yellow, this would be medium, or red would be low performing for each of these things like deployment frequency, lead time for changes, change failure rate, and time to restore service. Here for the pipeline overview, here now we get a different view. Let's see. My internet is giving me issues. Okay, so now we get visibility into the entire CI/CD pipeline, and we can dive into what is contributing to pipeline performance. So deployments are failing or causing customer issues, what parts of the pipeline are slow or keeping you from hitting a higher release velocity. And within each of these, here we have rolled up information from those various stages. So deploys, builds, pull requests, and issues. And so I'll dive into those a little bit more in a second. So first, let's look here at some of these drill downs into the DORA metrics. So we had our deployment frequency here. One of the things that's great about these dashboards is, I mentioned the added contextual data that we're adding. And that allows us to do things like cut the data by the different dimensions that you might have tagged your data by. And so here we have the ability to see average deploys per week, deploys by repository, the 1 week comparison. We can also cut this data by the status, so failed or success, different environments. So what if we wanted to look just at our production environment? Go ahead and apply that. You can also look at different services and different teams. So this makes it really easy for our individual groups to get meaningful data to them so that they can really start to dive into how to improve performance between each of these phases. Okay, so going back to the pipeline overview here, just wanted to drill into this a little bit more. Here we have our line chart for each of our deployment pipelines. On the very top, the pipeline execution trends. We only have one in this example, but this gives you an overview of how often these pipelines are actually being triggered. So below that, we have this broken out by the different parts of the pipeline. So for alerts here, we're seeing alerts from PagerDuty. Builds, we're seeing the relationship between the different build statuses. And then pull requests here, we have our top 10 requests by time to close. And this is important because what pull requests are taking longer, that might be an indication of other things going on. Like maybe there aren't enough engineers, or maybe there isn't enough back and forth, or there's a relationship problem between the reviewer and the reviewee. So really great to kind of monitor these things, which aren't commonly monitored. And then what's nice about these are all of these things are actually linked. So here, if we look at deploys, if I click on this commit, it'll bring me directly to GitHub, and I can see all the detail related to this example. Same thing with these builds and with the Jira tickets. Okay. And then for issues here, we're pulling this data from Jira. It shows us what issues are in play. Typically, our customers map this to bugs. So what are the most critical bugs? Actually aren't seeing a ton of issues right now, given that this is our demo environment. But we can see things like our top 10 recent issues that took the longest to close. And again, everything here is linked as well. Okay, so let's look at some of these drill down dashboards for the CI/CD pipeline. Okay, so if you take a look at our pull requests, okay, so here we're getting things like the top 10 services by pull request by the target branch, top 10 reviewers, and then created and versus merged versus declined pull requests. And this is really helpful to understand if there are any bottlenecks. And this is often kind of one of those things that's easy to ignore because it's really a human-centered process. But if you're collecting this data, it can be easier to track down issues that you might be having. Now, if we look at our pipeline stage monitoring here, okay, so here we're seeing things like our pipeline execution count, stage execution count, failed stages, and average pipeline duration. And this is really helpful bottleneck analysis tool as well. It's obvious that, that there's an issue here. When we look at the pipeline duration here, we actually see that it's the regression tests that are taking way longer than everything else. So what I can actually do here to drill down a little bit further is filter by the master build test pipeline. And then I can also filter by the regression test. Okay, so if I scroll down, now I can see the top 10 slowest steps for the regression test. And then it's really clear here which step is taking the longest. So our run back in ETL test, 23 hours versus everything else. And then it makes it really easy to identify where to target. So all of this is possible by getting that tagged rolled up data from all of the different phases. Okay, I think I talked about a lot of these things, but I just realized we didn't dive into the DORA metrics. Sorry, there's a lot of dashboards here that I'm excited to show you. So for each of the DORA metrics, as I mentioned, there's an equivalent dashboard where you can dive into exactly what's happening. So for change failure rate, here we have top services by P1 incident, top 5 alerting services, and then the average change failure rate trend. Whoops, I seem to have lost you all for a second. So sorry about that. Let's see, reshare my screen. All right, I'm so sorry. Hopefully we didn't lose too much. So I was just going through the deployment frequency dashboard. Here we have the average deploys per week, deploys by repository. And again, all of these things you can filter by the service and team. And finally, we'll just look at one more here, take a look at the lead time. think I'm clearly having an internet issue here. So I'll see if there's any questions I can answer. So one of the questions is there a plan to support GitLab with the solution? Absolutely, and we do support GitLab. It's just not one of the ones we have automatically Oops. Sorry, everyone. Once again, seem to have an issue getting all of these up. I'm so sorry, but I think we'll go ahead and wrap up. And I was just answering a question about GitLab. Just to finish that question, we absolutely support GitLab. And it's just one of those that we don't have the automated normalization, but as I mentioned before, really easy to apply yourself to just go through and add the tags that you're interested in monitoring. And we have a doc that walks you through that for any of the tools that aren't on this list. So just wrapping up a little bit what we talked about, and after we went through all of those dashboards, the solution is really meant to be plug and play and is definitely completely extensible. So you can adapt and add on any other tools that are important to your DevOps cycle. And the benefits here are really, again, to hit on those key door metrics, improve your release velocity, spend less time investing and investigating in the CI/CD toolchain issues. And then finally, I think team collaboration is one of those less talked about benefits of this, but when you're all speaking the same language, it's much, much easier to improve and collaborate and identify those issues. Okay, so how do you get started here? We have a 30-day free trial. So if you go to sumologic.com to start a free trial, that's a great place to start. And then within the product, once you're logged in, if you go to the app catalog, you can just search for software, and here it is, Software Development Optimization Solution. So you can go ahead and add these dashboards directly to your library. Also, if you hit Learn More, this will bring you directly to the docs so that you can start adding on any additional tools that you might be interested in adding. And finally, if you have additional questions, please reach out to us, sales@sumologic.com, and someone will get right back to you with those questions. All right, let me see if there were any more questions. Hopefully I didn't miss any other questions. It looks like the Q&A has been covered here, I hope. If I missed your question earlier when it logged me out, I'm sorry if it might have erased it from my view. But I'll just wait a second if anyone wanted to re-ask or ask their question again. All right, well, I really appreciate everyone joining today. Please reach out with questions about this product and solution. We would love to do an even deeper dive into exactly your needs and how we can help you get started as quickly as possible. So thanks so much for joining, and hopefully we'll see you on the next webinar.